Tunnel Hill 2023. I'm gonna give some tips and tricks from my few times running this race. There's the Airbnb we stayed at. I've run this race. I've run in the 100 mile 5 times and the 50 mile once. So hopefully this video helps a few people.
I don't need pins like that.
Okay, any hat you
Make sure you have your drop bags packed the morning before. Make sure you get there early enough to park. The parking lot area, that park does fill up. And drop bags are really easy to figure out where they go. There's only 3 spots to put them. It's one loop around the parking lot just to get it thinned out a little bit, but it's really crowded at the start, but don't let that get to you. It will thin out a lot. A few miles down, it gets really thin, and if you're doing the 100 miler, it gets really lonely the second half. I would always suggest starting off with shorts. Wear something light. There's really no reason to wear a big pack with a lot of things. There's only 5 miles between aid stations, so I always say just travel light with this one. You really don't need to carry a whole lot. Heron Pond, Heron Lake Pond, Heron Lake, whatever it's called, that's the first aid station. Right now we are heading south. We started in Vienna and we go south for about 13 point something miles, and then we turn around and head north again. So right now we're just heading south and everything is completely flat. There's no up or down, it's just flat, and then when you look to the side there are some of these little bridges. Generally it's flat. There's lots of farms. Here's the second aid station. This is Karnak. It's definitely a major aid station, and it's the first opportunity to see a drop bag. It's about 10 miles in. Leaving Karnak, that's usually when you start seeing a lot of the fast runners starting to head back north as you're heading south to the turnaround. Hey John, what's up? And then this is in the park. There's a turnaround. There's not a whole lot out here, but this is the only area where there's anything other than crushed limestone. There's just a little bit of concrete sidewalk. And now we're heading north back to, well, first we have to cross the Tunnel Hill Bridge here, but then we're going to head north back to Karnak. Depending on how far ahead or behind you are, this is kind of where you'll see the most people coming from the other direction. tarmac is just ahead. And we're back to the aid station. This is like 16 or so miles in. What do we got?
Ham and cheese and bacon.
How about one of these guys?
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. Too soon? 18 miles in? As far as what kind of shoes to wear for Tunnel Hill, probably the main thing is just to give yourself some options. There's plenty of drop bag locations, so give yourself the opportunity to change shoes. As far as trail versus road shoes, just realize the Tunnel Hill is it's a crushed limestone trail, and there are stones all over the place. I'd recommend road shoes that have a lot of cushion. And this video is not sponsored, but I think you can figure out the kind I'm talking about.
I watch your video about 10 times and how's your French?
Finally, back to the main start-finish aid station. You do not need to do a loop around the parking lot. You just come right into the aid station. And there's the family. And there's the hot dog. Now we're heading north out of Vienna, and there's somebody who just a couple minutes earlier, as you see, broke a 50-mile record. I should point out, this race happens just after the time change when we fall back, and it is on the eastern side of the central time zone. I think the race starts at 7 a.m., but the sun actually comes up at like 6. So you have an hour of daylight before the race actually starts. The thing is, you only have about 10 hours of daylight before it starts getting dark at 5 p.m. So just keep that in mind, that you only got 10 hours of daylight, and then you run a lot of this race in the dark. There's like 13 hours of darkness. Right now you can hardly see it, but heading north, the trail does incline. It goes up just a little bit. And then you come to a self-service aid station where they only have water. But still, this is a very, very gradual uphill climb to get to the tunnel. I believe the tunnel must be the highest point of the race. It's extremely flat, but this is where you can actually feel just a tiny bit of incline. Hey, that's the tunnel up there. And here's the tunnel. Has kind of a Road Runner, Wile E. Coyote kind of feel to it when you just see that light at the end of the tunnel. You kind of feel like you're in a cartoon. I don't know why I feel like I need to record the whole tunnel while I'm going through it, but I do it anyway. So this is what it looks like. It doesn't actually look like this. What you should do is wear sunglasses before you get into the tunnel, and then when you get in the tunnel, just lift up your sunglasses and take them off, because there is enough light to barely see. The camera, there's not enough light to make a camera really work, not an action camera. So it's really not as dark as what it looks like, but it is dark. And there's the Tunnel Hill aid station. Lots of good parking and plenty of spectators at this stop.
Yeah.
We have soda too if you want soda.
Just water. Top it off at 30. It's only half full.
Yeah.
Here.
I'll put it in the cup. You can
Yeah, that's fine.
You want extra broth or anything? So it's funny.
Hey, Will. Good job, Lynn. You got that.
There's the drop bags. The hardest part is just finding your drop bag, but they're all right there. And if you didn't notice, there's a whole bank of Porta-Johns right next to it. Still heading north. Just left the Tunnel Hill aid station. There's I don't know, it's like 2 miles or so. And this part is actually downhill. After you leave the tunnel, still heading north, you are kind of going downhill till you get to the turnaround, and that's when you can actually feel an incline. I always kind of feel that incline, and it's hard to keep running. It's subtle, it's not very much, but it seems like that's the steepest part of the race, is after that north turnaround heading back to the tunnel.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. This guy just looked important.
I didn't want to. Go, Daddy, go.
All right. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh. Bye, buddy.
And back to the tunnel. And listen to what this person says.
Rob, stop our breaths too much.
Hey, hey.
And again, I don't know why I'm recording going through the whole tunnel, but if you were to back up and look at the rocks on the north side of the tunnel, and then when we get through the tunnel heading south, look at the rocks there. They actually look different. On the north side, they look a lot flatter, and on the south side, they look a lot chunkier, I guess. There are two different kinds of rocks at Tunnel Hill for some reason. Yeah, see how chunky the rocks look? They're not flat. They're not that horizontal flat looking kind of thing. They're just chunky looking rocks. So now through the tunnel, heading back south towards Vienna. This is where it's actually a slight decline. And don't walk this section. This is, wherever it's a decline, well, really don't walk any of the race, but this part heading back south, just realize that you're on a decline and it's time to keep moving. One thing I would definitely recommend for this race is not to carry a heavy backpack full of stuff. I've done a bunch of other ultras, and yeah, there's a reason why you would want to have a big hydration vest with carrying a bunch of stuff in it, but for a tunnel hill, really the name of the game, really the idea is to travel light. It's only 5 miles between aid stations or so. And the drop bags, there's 3 spots for drop bags, and 2 of the spots you actually can see your bag 4 times, and 1 spot you can see it 3 times. So there's 9 opportunities to see your drop bag.
Good job.
There you go.
Awesome. And actually,
You don't need the wrapper.
I don't need that wrapper.
I know that.
Thank you. Thank you.
75 miles an hour. You'll be okay.
So when you leave Vienna, just realize, or wherever you're at when it starts to get dark, which is probably going to be around that time, 10 hours into the race, just realize that it's going to get cold. It's going to get colder. Like the heat of the day, it never really gets that warm, but it will get colder. And the most important thing is just being able to be dressed correctly for it, appropriately for it, and give yourself some options. I would not wear a waterproof jacket or a windbreaker because it's temperature control is what you're trying to do, and if you're wearing something that's not breathable, then yeah, I always end up sweating and then getting cold later when you walk a little bit. The main thing is to have clothes that you can stay dry in, warm and dry. What do you have? And we're back at the Karnak aid station. Perfect.
Bacon.
Gotta have some bacon. There you go. Of course, everything is really dark out, so there's no reason to record a whole lot when it's this dark out, but this is what the south turnaround looks like, and then we're back to Karnak. There really isn't much to see in the dark for that section.
And don't finish before 7.
There goes the picnic table. Drop bags, of course. Coming back to Heron Pond Lake, whatever it's called. Back to Vienna. They have this nice tent set up, but I would definitely recommend going in for a cup of coffee and then getting out. Go back to your drop bags for sure. they don't have any chairs there. They've never had any benches or anything really set up to be able to sit on and take care of things. I've always had to sit on the curb or the ground. I don't know, bring a chair. Thank you.
Black.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, poor Becky. Should have just told me.
Okay, we're going through the tunnel again. Well, here we are again. In the tunnel. In other years, if you have watched my other videos, you might have noticed that sometimes there are mice or other rodents that run around in there. I was hoping to see something this year, but I didn't see anything. One nice thing about the surface of the tunnel, it's really flat, it's really hard, and being where it's at, there's no tree roots to trip over. There aren't any tree roots anywhere on the route to trip over, but there's really nothing anywhere on the course that you should trip over. If you trip and fall on the Tunnel Hill course, congratulations. It's fun as usual. And we're back to the Tunnel Hill aid station.
Yeah, grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese?
Thank you.
Need another half.
And back to more darkness. Heading north to the turnaround. Not much to see. And back to the Tunnel Hill aid station.
Grilled cheese.
Always thank the volunteers.
Alright, thank you. Just a little helper.
Oh, mama's little helper. Anything else? Hot food?
Nope, good. Thank you.
And back through the tunnel one last time. And if you're wondering how I get images like this, I use a different camera for everything else, but for this I have a police body camera that can record with infrared light. I know I've said it before, but GoPro cameras do not work in the dark. Just black.
I don't know how hot it is.
Keep me from veering a little bit. All right. That's fine. Thank you. Almost to the finish. I hoped to had finished before the sun came up, but I wish I knew how far this overpass was to the finish. About a mile to go, and it's finally time.